Hello, greetings everyone. I'm Megan.
And I'm Brian.
And we're here with Spirit Healing Meditations. And today we'd like to talk about masculine and feminine energy. We'd like to talk about masculine and feminine energy within ourselves and balancing that, as well as how that dynamic works within relationships.
Yeah. So it's really a interesting topic now in today's political and social climate of just speaking about masculinity and femininity and what is masculine, what is feminine. And I myself am very much a masculine man in the way that I have a lot of the traits and attributes of a guy. I think logically, I like to do things. I identify a lot with accomplishment in what I do. I like being a provider, kind of the hunter-gatherer energy. I do a lot of the guy things around the house. I chop the wood. I fix things. I go around, I take care of the vehicles. Many of those stereotypical roles, I really enjoy being that person and having that energy of doing that. And that masculine energy is strong in me. But also, I've worked on cultivating the feminine receptive aspect of myself as well. I believe I do have a very balanced masculine and feminine within my own being. Like, I'm very in touch with my emotions, my intuition, and my feelings. And I feel that it is very important to have a great balance, especially as one is advancing on the spiritual path of the inner masculine and the inner feminine.
Definitely. And if we're talking about masculine and feminine, masculine would be sort of, like he's saying, it would be the outward, the doing, whereas feminine is the inward and the receptive. And I think it is important that we cultivate a balance. For each person, regardless of your gender, we tend to have one that is higher than the other. For me, for example, I am definitely more of a feminine person, and that comes out in the way that I act and interact in the world, as well as within my own emotional sphere, as well as in our relationship. And one of the things that works well with our relationship is that I am more of that feminine receptivity and he is more of the masculine, the outward. And so that is a great way that we balance each other. If both people are very masculine or both people are both very feminine, it can be problematic if we're not able to balance ourselves out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that can really be an issue, and I've definitely had that experience in past relationships that I've had of being with some women that are definitely a bit more masculine in the way that they think or the way that they act, and it felt almost like we were at odds, or that person was trying to prove, like, I can do everything that you can do, or I can do it better, and it just felt kind of ridiculous to me. It's like, wow, we're meant to balance each other and come to a point where we give to the relationship, and together as a whole we make something more, we make something greater and better. And that's a wonderful thing with the dynamic of a masculine energy and a feminine energy coming together, that we kind of round each other's sharp edges. We can help fill in some of those things, like certain things that I'm just not that really that into or that good at, and especially in our relationship. Oh, what's a better way to say that? You get what I'm trying to say?
Keep going.
So it's like, if there's certain things that I'm just, okay, here's
a good example.
A good example, like she really helps me out on skincare. She is totally into Korean skincare, all this stuff, like me, like before I'd be like, I don't know, it's like that. Yeah, I wash my face every now and again. And now it's like
when you're in the shower, it kind of falls on there.
Now through that feminine energy, like in the past year or so, like I have my own cabinet in the bathroom full of all sorts of little things, and I like doing it every day. I'm like using scrubs and masks and eye creams and overnight creams, and it's got all of these special things, and she's really excited about this stuff. I got this little thingy that's infrared that zaps my face with electricity, but the thing is, like, I noticed, like, wow, my wrinkles are like going away and my face looks a lot more vibrant and brighter, and like I feel better about myself. I never would have even considered, like, what the heck would I do that and spend money on that stuff? But she like buys me this little stuff, or here's this one, or use some of this, and like I really enjoy that. And without you, I never would have even, like, I might have just like washed my face a few times a week.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice way to nourish yourself as well, and to sort of take that time for self-care Like, I associate that with feminine energy is caring, nurturing, self-care, caring for your face, caring for your body, taking rest. That's an important part, because I know that some people, if you have a lot of masculine energy, you can just keep going and going and going and burn yourself out. But it's the same way, like, if you have too much feminine energy and it's not balanced with the masculine, then that can be a problem too. And so he helps balance me out in that way as well. Like, sometimes I'll just be okay with things the way they are, but things could really be improved. So, for example, he'll want to change around, how the room looks, or, get into every corner and clean, or, and then rearrange how everything looks. And so for me, like, I might think, oh, well, this is just the way this room is, the couch is there and this is there, but he'll have it in his mind like, oh, I want it to look different. And then I might sort of be like, well, I don't really want to go through that action, that masculine energy of doing that. But then because he wants to, then I'm like, well, okay, I can see, with my feminine creative side, what you're saying. And I can see that that's true. And then we can work on that together and actually accomplish that. So it gets me working, doing things that otherwise I would just put my energy somewhere else. I would put my energy into, emotions or something like that. And I'm not trying to sound stereotypical or cliche or anything here. It's really how I am.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good example, too. Mm-hmm. And, like, truth be told that, yes, again, we all have masculine and feminine in us, and it is very important that we develop both the right and left hemispheres of our brains, the masculine and the feminine sides of our personalities. And that's what helps us become whole people, an enlightened being, which many of us aspire to be either in this lifetime or the next one, or
whatever.
Whenever it happens, is a person who would have the balance of doing and being, of intellect and intuition, of activity and passivity, of mercy and severity, all these pairs of opposites, because truly we live in a duality where there is male energy, there is female energy, there is positive charge and electricity, there's negative, there's positive magnetic, there's negative magnetic. Everything is this balance of two polarities. We do not know what up is without the reference to down. Hot and cold only exist because of polar opposites. Good and bad are only existent in relation to their opposites. And the masculine and feminine energy is a play of this. And to walk the middle path of the Buddha, the middle path of the tree of life, the middle path of creation, where you're in the middle and you're in balance, is to have those polarities of positive and negative, yin and yang, in balance, and then be able to rise upward in the way of creation, in the way of consciousness from that balanced place. Because if you're too much one way or too much the other way, eventually it's like, you're going to go kind of sideways and something's going to topple over. And in human relationships, especially as most of us are, we're still evolving, we're still learning, we're in this human experience, having that partnership, especially with the opposite polarity, can really, really help to balance that within one's personality and within the union of what we would call our relationship. Like, it's not just about me, it's not just about her, there's a lot of things about us. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say if you're in a relationship where there are two more masculine type personalities, or two more feminine personalities, perhaps that's what you need to learn to balance things out. Everybody is different, and we honor that, and we think that it's like we embrace whatever feels right.
And masculine bashing that's been going on, and I don't agree with that. I mean, yes, there are definitely instances of men that have taken too much power and have really fucked things up for not only women and children, but other men too. And, that is not how most men are, but I think that men get blamed for that. And I was very lucky to grow up with lots of positive men in my life, and boys too. I played baseball with boys. I have my brother is a year and a half, younger than me, and we grew up just as best friends. My dad is a great guy, and all my baseball coaches were great, and they, treated me equally. And so my experience was one of really valuing men and the experience that they have and the energy that they have as well. And I think that it is very challenging for men these days because of the dynamic of bashing the masculine and not understanding the role of the masculine, the true role of the masculine. And if we just keep looking at historical sources of times when masculinity was misused and power was misused, then of course we're going to hate masculinity, or we're going to hate or resent or be afraid of men. But equally, there's more instances of men that have been wonderful people and then even just beyond men, the masculine principle. If the whole world was just feminine principle people, whether they're, women, men, or non-binary people or whatever, if everybody was feminine in their polarity, I hate to say it, but like nothing would really get done. We would all just be like, oh, I love you, and oh, it's so great. Highways would go to shit. It would be like, probably
nobody's driving the truck. There's no food.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's driving the truck. There's no food. So we definitely need both in this plane. And I think that one thing that happens is a lot of us, we might identify, if we're spiritual people, we might identify with other planes or other dimensions or other planets as being a place where we're more comfortable. So people may talk about, being Pleiadian or Venusian or something like that and having that be their dominant frequency. Those are more feminine-oriented frequencies. So coming to a place where there is this balance, where there is this pull, I think can be challenging for some people. And it's hard sometimes to accept that things aren't always love and light here. Things are challenging. Things require action to grow. We can't just think things and have them manifest here like we can in a lot of other planes. And so we need to bring out that masculine energy within us to actually do stuff here.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad you said all that. And I personally, I really identify with that, as I said before, that benevolent masculine energy, the energy of the benevolent provider, the benevolent father, the benevolent king, in the way that I'm a king of my own reality, and there are people around me in my community. I love caring for my woman. I love caring for a lot of people in the way I'm also a massage therapist, sound healer, and I practice energy healing, and that's a really interesting balance that's a very feminine art. Mm-hmm. Most people would look at me and be like, you do that? And like, yeah. And it's like, I'll sit there and hold people's heads and just cradle people for hours a day, some days, and just be in that place of allowing that feminine energy to stream through me. But I also do it in a very masculine way, where I take authority and I'm proactively working with people to be that conduit to heal. It's a very interesting balance in myself. As much as I identify as masculine, one of my main arts is feminine healing, which is a really, really cool balance. But and with the energy of the feminine, I really like that you're a very feminine woman. That is very good for me. It's like I want that in my woman. I really, yeah, in my woman, yeah. I'm going to say this is my woman. And it's like, you know what? A lot of women be like, oh, you're objectifying her. It's like, you know what? She likes me calling her that. Don't you? Yeah, and a lot of women do, and it's like that's not a bad thing to embrace those traits. If it's done in a derogatory way, it's like not in the way of like you're my property.
Yeah, and not in a subservient way. Yeah. Like I could easily say this is my man, and you'd be like, yeah, I am.
Yeah. And it's not in a way that I own her or any way demeaning or anything like that. It's more like in a playful way, and it's just like it's playing with those energies, playing with those polarities. And like I really enjoy the fact that it's like she likes to take care of me in a lot of ways and take care of things. And like that feminine nurturing quality is something that really helps balance me. And that's a very good quality in women as well. And it's wonderful. I do believe women should have equal pay, equal opportunities. Yes. And there's a difference between a masculine frequency and a feminine frequency. And if you're a woman who has more of a masculine frequency, that's good. That's a different story.
Yeah, that's the way you are.
Yes. What I'm speaking about here is like if that femininity is really what your frequency is and what you identify with it, embrace it. Really go deeper and deeper into that frequency. And as paradoxical as it may sound, as you go deeper into that frequency, it's like you'll find more balance in the masculine in your life when you embrace kind of what your nature is, and you go deeper into that, because these polarities, again, it always seeks its opposite. It's like with magnets, they want to attract to each other.
Yeah.
It's like you have this, the more you're polarized in one direction, the more that you're attracting that opposite polarity to seek reconciliation, to come back to a place of stasis or equilibrium. So it's like if it seems like you're going too far in one direction, it's actually not the case most of the time. It's creating that ability of the universe with its natural law, the way things that work, to bring that opposite to not only create that equilibrium, but to allow an ascension to another level of existence. And really, it's through the union of opposites that we ascend. I'm not speaking of ascension in the way of the skies opening and we blip into another reality. Yes, that does happen, and that is something that we are eventually heading to as a species. But I'm speaking of ascension in a daily way, in consciousness, moment to moment, as different polarities in us unite, different opposites, we ascend to another level of consciousness. This is something that happens time and time again. It's not open the sky and then you go into another thing and it's like, now I'm ascended, now what? No, it's like that concept is just limited through the human mind. We're really talking about ascending in levels of consciousness daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Like if you look back at your life 2 years ago versus where you are now, most likely there have been many ways which you've ascended. And if you really look at how that happens, it's through reconciling opposites, one extremity coming into balance, and then life shifting and changing, because when things go into balance, it creates a levity, it creates a levitational energy that wants to move upward, just like every plant, everything that grows, human beings, everything that's growing on a plane of biological matter is growing in an upward, expansive energy. And that's what life does. And again, it's through the union of these opposites, again and again, that growth happens, ascension happens.
Totally. And I want to touch a little bit about society and how society is right now. Because I was talking earlier about how, there's been a lot of men bashing, but even though there's been a lot of men bashing, society is still very masculine, but it's sort of females or women in a masculine role. And that's kind of been going on, since World War II, but mostly since the 80s, where women have been expected to fulfill masculine and feminine roles. And I think that that's really a challenge, and I would like to see that, and I hope it does, shift within Western society even more as time goes by. Because, people that are more feminine feel the need, at least for myself, to sort of push to become more masculine instead of having it evolve in a natural way. Push to be more masculine, to do, build, create, rah, 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 as our therapist would call it. And it's not my natural way of being to be that way. And a good example, too, is I'm not a mother, but many women are mothers, and many mothers are very nurturing, and yet women don't, get paid to be mothers. Women, maybe a little bit from the government here and there, but women aren't respected yet as, mothers aren't respected in the same way as, a woman or man or any person that's like a CEO. People think like, oh wow, that's a CEO, you're really successful. But somebody needs to raise those kids. Somebody needs to care for them and nurture them. If you don't care for them and nurture them, they're probably going to end up becoming psychopaths or, harming themselves or others. And it's just such an undervalued thing. And that's femininity in general. That's, anybody of any gender, women, men, etc. Like, if you're more feminine in this Western world, it's really not seen as valued as it could be. At least that's been my experience.
And like that example precisely of maybe the feminine choosing to be mothers and be home with the children, like that is a perfect example of the harmonization of opposites in a way. If you had the masculine energy kind of going out that maybe is the CEO or makes a lot of money, society might be like, oh, well, he's making a lot of money, but she's just staying home. It's like, no, that's the other half of the equation. These two people have brought children into this world to have this responsibility to raise these children, care for them, love them, and nourish them. And if both parents are going to work all day and the kids are dumped off at daycare, they're probably getting programmed by the system and just a bunch of stuff that it's like, yes, these are loving people that work with that, but these systems and schools and teachings, a lot of the times it's not the best thing that we're putting into the minds of the children. So those women that are really choosing to be mothers and be at home, that is just as valuable, if not more valuable, because they're the main ones teaching the next generation, instilling the values, teaching a sense of self and how to and really being nourishing and being loving parents. And the masculine energy, whichever that would be, it could be the man or the woman in a relationship, or the woman and the woman, whatever it is. It's like the person that goes out and gathers that, brings home those resources so that person can stay home and be with the children and raise them and work with them. See how it's like this, again, this is these two opposites, one person staying home, one person going out hunting, gathering. Masculine, feminine, inward, nurturing, outward, go and gather. Those two work together to create that whole, which is this harmony, is this balance, and together they make so much more.
Yeah. And unfortunately, these days, as you're all well aware, it's usually not feasible financially for parents of kids to have one parent stay home. And I wish it was, because I think that that's a wonderful thing. But one thing I do notice is oftentimes at least one of the partners will have a job that's more part-time or that is full-time, but it's not taking up all of their bandwidth, so they're still able to be more of that nurturing role with kids. I wish that kids could have, adults with them that care for them more often than they do. I don't have kids myself, but that is something that I would love to see. I would love to see that valued more. I would love to see mothers get a salary somehow or something where they're able to really be valued in a monetary way for the service that they're doing of, creating and raising the next generation that's going to inherit this earth.
Mm-hmm. So as we come down to it, just remember this whole plane is built upon opposites. Up, down, hot, cold, good, bad, masculine and feminine, yin and yang. All of these opposites are always seeking to find equilibrium in attracting their opposite. And first of all, it is our job to work on reconciling these opposites within ourselves. We do this through our relationships. We do this through balancing our thoughts and our emotions, our intellect with our intuition, and in our spiritual practices through learning to do that. And most of us are more intellectually biased in general, just because that's how our society raised us. Go to school, answer all the questions on the test. You're really good if you can remember this stuff. So our job, a lot of us, is to cultivate more of that feminine energy, because this has been a patriarchal, male-dominated society, and systems, which are systems that like to dominate and control things. If you just take a look around at corporations, governments, banks, they're all based on this masculine frequency. So we need to bring more of that feminine frequency into the world, into our societal structures and government systems. And first of all, it starts more within us and our own practices, balancing the emotions, balancing the intuition with the thought, with the doing, with the intellect.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like our therapist and counselor, he talks about different ways that people see the world. And so, for example, for me, I think with my emotions, whereas for other people, they feel with their thoughts. So coming to balance with that, I think, is a really important thing for us all to endeavor towards. And not by saying, oh, you're like, I'm bad, beat myself up, tisk tisk, or something like that, but recognizing that for me, as a very feminine person, things aren't always based on emotions as much as I feel like they are. It's important to have that balanced viewpoint of the world in order to know how other people are feeling and what other people are thinking, what their experiences are, as well as to come to a better state of balance within our own beings.
Yeah. So that's about all we got for today, I think. Is there anything else coming to mind? Cool. We'd love to hear more of your questions and comments, and we'll go over these comments after. Totally forgot to look at them during the live stream here. So ask your questions, and we'll see you next time. Be blessed.
Bye.